Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guys Mo Nawara in the Midwest, and we got Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are looking at a Wednesday MLB slate here, only 2 day games, so plenty of options to choose from here for you guys on this show today. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us each and every weekday of this MLB regular season with the video we have for you guys. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Make sure you're checking out the great stuff Mo, Nate, and company have on thelines.com. Plenty of MLB stuff and content for you up there. Also covering that NBA Finals as well, so I want you to check all that out. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for Wednesday night's slate. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, the action that night starts at 6:40 Eastern. We got Diamondbacks in a toss-up at Cincy. Mariners are plus 120 at Houston with Logan Gilbert going for them. Nats plus 175 at Miami. Cubs are minus 120 at Baltimore. Rangers plus 140 at the Guardians, who are throwing Bieber. Cardinals with young Packy Naughton plus 125 at Tampa. The A's are debuting Jared Koenig. They're still plus 200 at the Braves. Yankees keep rolling, minus 170 at Minnesota. Phillies minus 125 at Milwaukee. Dodgers minus 175 at the White Sox, who are throwing Johnny Cueto. Red Sox minus 160 at the Angels in the first game after Joe Maddon's dismissal. The Mets are plus 115 to plus 120, depending where you find it, at San Diego. And then the Rockies, huge, plus 200. Dogs at the Giants. But yeah, we're looking at some New York teams here. It's a hell of a town, and they've got some good value, honestly, even with the Yankees so favored tonight. Pretty good value on the run line there. But we're starting with the Mets. After they lost 7-0 last night, that seems to be why they're getting this juice here at plus 115 or plus 120, where you find it. With Chris Bassett on the mound, though, they should be solid against this Padres lineup. I mean, he's been good with the exception of some blips against the Giants and Cardinals, really. There's still some room for positive regression with his home run 9 ratio at 1.5. For his career, it's under 1. So that just seems a bit fluky. And he's facing a Padres lineup that's 26th in home run rate at a park, Petco, that is pretty freaking massive. His exit velocity is still very low, 85.7 on average. So I trust Bassett to navigate this lineup here. And Manaea, the Maniac, much more of a boom bust option for me. He does have a career high swing strike rate, nearly 14%. He's got that great slider, getting a lot of contact outside the zone. But he walks a lot of guys, his highest walk rate since 2017. He's not been particularly good at Petco because he does give up a lot more line drives, which, can find the gaps of that big stadium. 5.0 ERA and 1.37 whip at home this season. Mets have won 6 of their last 7 against lefties. Josh unearthing that stat. Good call there. I mean, they will be without Pete Alonso and Starling Marte, who got injured last night. So that makes me lean a little bit. It's only 7 runs, so the under is a tough one here. But I think there could be some extra juice taking the Mets with the under here in some sort of parlay, because I think we have a low-scoring game, but I like Bassett more than Manaea.
Yeah, I just want to talk about those injuries real quick, because I took a bad number last night on the Mets. So weird, like when the line moves because of an injury, when everyone pretty much, I actually didn't see the Marte, but I did see Alonso last night. And then this morning it comes up at plus 120. I added more because I'm sick, but yeah, it's interesting to look at these guys because both of them, despite being right-handed, are actually better against right-handed pitchers in their careers. And as far as Marte goes, I just don't see a difference really between him and Mark Canha. They're just like really, really similar hitters, and Marte isn't a good defender anymore at his age. So, and then Alonso is being replaced, I think, by JD Davis, and probably he'll be in a platoon with Dominic Smith, but for sure against the lefty, it's going to be JD Davis. He's been a good hitter in his career. He's been above average against pitchers from both sides. And I mainly want to talk about the offenses here because I don't see much difference between these pitchers. I'm seeing them as very, very similar. They project very similarly. But the Mets just have a way, way better offense. 115 WRC plus this year. I think that's second in the majors. Padres are at 92. That's bottom 10. It's kind of the second straight year their offense has kind of underwhelmed. I think a lot of it is just, I think, man, Tatis is carrying a lot of the load for them. And yeah, also when I'm looking at Manaya's pitch mix, man, he throws a ton of fastballs. His sinker is 60% of his repertoire this year. And his most used secondary is his changeup. And what do you know? You check the pitch values, and the Mets are the number one offense against sinkers and changeups this year. So I think even with Alonso and Marte out, man, plus 120 seems kind of crazy to me. I think this should be like pretty much even money. So I think you're pretty much getting plus 120 on a coin flip here.
I would agree. I think that's where you get that value. And yeah, I actually missed the Marte injury myself and the Pete Alonso one. Obviously, those West Coast games are not fun for bettors who are trying to take the night before. I understand that it works out when you are on the West Coast, but either way, they're big injuries down the line. Honestly, X-rays already came back negative on Pete Alonso. Obviously, I'm keeping tabs on that. But JD Davis is more than serviceable. I mean, he's got about half the plate appearances this season, and pretty much the same numbers if you chop him in half. So you double that, and he's pretty much apparently the same player as Pete Alonso right now. I say that a little bit in jest, but I mean, still, they have an incredibly young, backup first baseman for a reason. So I'm not too worried about that, and I do like where Bassett's at and the numbers that do show in terms of the splits, in terms of the Mets hitting that left-handed pitching, and the Pods not necessarily being able to put up nearly as much on that right-handed pitching. But unders do go, have also been hitting for both these teams when they do play, the respective pitchers and sides of the plate that they hit from. So let's move on to the other New York team that you mentioned there, Nate. This spread, this number here for the Yankees at minus 174 now as we are recording this, which started a lot shorter for us, but definitely kept growing. And they're in Minnesota, a total of 8.5 runs. I know we're also considering potentially the Yanks on the run line there just because we have such a disparity here. We got Nestor Cortez, who's, vying for that Cy Young right now versus Chris Archer, who probably hasn't even been as bad as he should be this season. He's been all right in certain places, but is probably actually outperforming what he should be. So kick things off for me, Mo. What do you like in this Yankees-Twins matchup?
Yeah, I think you could find some Yankees in the minus 160s very early this morning. I think some money's coming back in on the Yankees. It came in on the Twins overnight, so maybe a little head fake from the sharps there. But I really like the Yankees here, actually. Man, all you can say about Nasty Nestor is he's just been awesome. I don't even know how much longer we can believe in these projections that have him like high threes ERA. I mean, they're coming down, but I don't think it's quick enough to react to how good he's been since last year. So he has like a 1.5 ERA this year, and nobody's going to have a 1.5 ERA without good fortune, but he's not been as lucky as you might think. Most of his estimators are in the 2s or barely cracking 3. And it's like 150 innings dating to last year. I mean, obviously you can run good over 150 innings, but he's just doing everything well across the board. Barrel percent 4.1. I mean, nobody can square this guy up. And it's interesting because the Mets have been so good against lefties, but when Nestor is at the platoon disadvantage, he actually has not really cared. Even dating back to when he was like a no-name reliever for 3 other franchises, he's actually been better over his career against right-handed batters. And then even when you just like look at the last couple of years, his time as a starter, lefties have had a 50-point higher BABIP against him, but the WOBAs are similar. So that just tells me he's not going to have much of a platoon split. And yeah, I really like how the Twins are using Archer. They know how limited he is, I think. So they're not trying to push him into kind of a traditional starter workload. They're just trying to get like 4-ish innings out of him. But I mean, at the end of the day, when you have a 23.2 called strike plus whiff rate, that's, way, way below league average. And he's almost a full run below his Sierra on his ERA. And this is a guy who in his career has pitched worse than his peripherals over a lot of innings. I mean, we have enough of a sample to know that Chris Archer is probably not going to pitch to his peripherals. And then, we know how much he relies on his slider. Yankees third best against sliders this year. I think the line honestly only dropped because people realized Carlos Correa is going to play. But that's just not moving the needle enough for me to not have quite a bit of value on the Yankees around -170. You could fire a run line here. Should be high scoring road team. So it's a good spot to have the run line. But I just took some Yankees around -170, and I think they should be more like -190 here.
Yeah, and I think you can take that run line just based on the pitching mismatch here, or that first half run line even, because Archer, he might only go 4 innings, but this is a really bad matchup for him. So walk heavy the last few seasons. Yankees are 4th in walk rate, 1st in home run rate. Of course, barely getting any swinging strikes. I mean, under 10% there and under 28% on swings outside the zone. His fastball rate's -8. He just lost a lot of juice after that surgery. He's throwing the slider 45% of the time, but the Yankees, like I said, they'll be patient with that, or they'll crush any mistakes he throws with that slider. And Cortez is just a machine with that 71% first strike rate. Is that maybe tops among qualified pitchers, Mo? I mean, it's definitely among the tops there.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah. I don't see him slowing down against the Twins lineup. And the Twins, when they're home dogs here, are 2-6 against the run line, and at home in general, 12-17. So Yanks have covered that run line, and I believe 6 of their last 8 wins. So I think they can do it again here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's not much of a question as to where the value lies here in terms of the better pitcher. Both pitchers, though, are playing against a lineup that is not necessarily suited for their skill set. I do think that there's a possibility that the Twins, top 10 in batting average, top 10 against lefties as well. There is a possibility that they're able to put up some runs. 9, obviously 8.5 is a high total here, and you would really be banking on the Yankees to do a lot of the heavy lifting there. But I mean, if you do think Archer's about to get shellacked, then I think there is some potential there for the over if you were going to take that. But I do think we all lean Yankees before we even really touch that total runs there. So let's go back to a series that we've been talking about quite a lot, actually. The Mariners in Houston. Logan Gilbert, the young guy, looks really good so far, and he is in Houston. As we said, we've got a couple of bets here that sort of lean Seattle in this one, who is plus 125 on the money line there. A total of 8.5 runs expected to be scored. Nate, where do you kick us off with this one?
I mean, Logan Gilbert is a great young pitcher, and he just shut down the Astros over 7 innings here. 6-0 win for the Mariners. I'm just looking at the Astros as no longer the bullies of the AL West. I mean, they're still a good team. They win a lot of low-scoring games, but I mean, this is no longer the mismatch that the line is kind of representing. Look, the Mariners have won 3 of their last 5 against the Astros, including that Gilbert start. And he's just far better than Jose Urquidy, who has a 6.09 xERA. He was even worse than his actual ERA, and he deserves it because he's giving up 46% hard hit, nearly 12% barrel rate, and a 91% exit velocity, a 91 mile per hour exit velocity. That explains that BABIP, which up at 353. He has been better at home this year, but he has a 99% strand rate in those starts. So I don't know if that's going to last. And Gilbert, he's got the same peripherals as his rookie season here, and he just continues to showcase that lights out stuff. And on the road too for a young guy, really impressive. 3-1, 1.96 ERA. In 7 road starts. So the fact that he shut down Houston at home just a couple weeks ago doesn't give me much pause as he goes to Houston. I like the Mariners money line in the first half as well. I think you can stack them on top of each other just in case this one gets out of hand, gets away from them in the second half. But I think Gilbert gives you a much better start than Urquidy.
This is a really interesting matchup. So I'll just tell you guys one funny thing. I almost smashed the Astros button when I saw the line this morning because it had dropped like 20 cents. but that was because they scheduled in Logan Gilbert instead of Marco Gonzalez. I'm projecting Logan Gilbert about a half run better than Marco, so this is a very positive switch for the Mariners, and I think it's definitely justified for the line to drop about where it did. So Gilbert, both of these pitchers are a little bit hard to read because Gilbert, so for him, back-to-back years with very good Sierras, but when I see his called strike plus whiff rate sub 26% the whole way through, I get a little nervous. If he can pitch to his Sierra, which is like 3.75, I think it was for his career, if he can pitch to that, then I think there's value on the Mariners. But I don't know if he can, because when I see a subpar called strike plus whiff rate, I'm usually thinking at best you're going to be about an average arm, which is about where I'm projecting him right now. Urquidy is also interesting to track right now. His velocity is up, but his swinging strikes have dropped. So I'm not really sure what to think. I was looking through his pitch mix. I guess he's added a cutter and throwing it a bunch, but it's kind of weird because sometimes sliders and cutters can kind of blend together. And I was wondering if the tracking systems were reclassifying it because the movement changed. But then I was Googling, and I guess he did add a cutter. It's not working for him. It's getting some whiffs, but it's got a 434 xWOBA. That is horrific. His slider was at 262 last year, so it performed quite a bit better. But it's really weird because then when I look at the heat map for the two pitches, the cutter looks like it's landing in the right spot, and the slider looks like it's over the zone. So I feel like they're landing in the reverse places of where they should. So I'm really not sure what's going on here. I don't know how to project Urquidy right now. I feel like maybe he fixed something that wasn't broken, and he just probably should have kept doing what he's doing. So I would lean to the Mariners here because I don't know what Urquidy's trying to do, or if he is doing what he's trying to do. I don't think it's working. But I'm also a little nervous about Gilbert because I see some regression in his future if he doesn't start getting more swings and misses.
Yeah, that's a fair take. I still feel like at plus 125, you might be able to even find plus 130 for the Mariners. It seems like that's too much juice there. I actually thought there'd be a little bit more action driving that down via the sharps, but I do think that Logan Gilbert, against this lineup, obviously he had success the time before pitching those 7 shutouts. So like Nate said, I'm not necessarily worried about it moving forward for him now that he's in Houston. And Urquidy, yeah, I think it's the same concept for him that you were saying, Mo. I think he might be trying to overthink things at this point because, yeah, especially his last 2 starts, that he just looked like he did not have control of what he was trying to do there, and that guys were seeing the ball super, super well. So I would say that just because of that total, that number there at plus 130, it just feels too juicy to take on a Mariners team that's 7-3 in their last 10, and to the point that you made as well, Nate, making a play for that AL West. So that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us as we're bringing you these videos each and every weekday of this MLB regular season. So until we see you next, happy betting.